Last video, I briefly mentioned Gnosticism, and I offered to make a video about it because out of all the theology videos throughout the years of the Aku anime, I never talked about this. And I'll tell you why. But first, I'm going to put some gameplay in the background still, but I will be swapping to pictures or references consistently. So, number one, why I never talked about this. First, I think Gnosticism is too complicated for most people. And, just because someone doesn't understand it, it doesn't make them less intelligent, okay? It's kind of all over the place once you get to certain parts. The second reason is, sorry to pick on Christians here, because y'all do this as much as Gnostics do this. Y'all love making up Bible verses or claiming stuff is in the Bible when it's not. And y'all will do this when you're losing an argument or somebody brings up a rational or logical point. Worst case, you'll start resorting to calling someone a devil worshiper or claim they hate Jesus and God. And that's like the last punch that will be thrown, like cornered against the wall. I'm sorry to say, Gnostics, people who are really into this stuff, they will do the same thing. All up in comment sections, all up on Reddit and different subforums. So I try to avoid that. At this point, it's inevitable. I'm taking a risk with this video, so please keep an open mind without resorting to low IQ and emotional reactions due to critical thought. The final reason why I choose to avoid this topic, despite people mentioning it throughout the years, is because if I'm going to explain it, it's gonna take multiple steps. Because for those who are familiar with me, I can't just tell you something in black and white. It's just not me. I always integrate esoteric ideas or hermetic or occult ideologies and linking it together. Can't give it to y'all simple, So let's start it like this. I'm actually going to work off of a comment from a recent video, and this will unfold us into Gnosticism. In this video, this is banned for a reason. Someone left a comment basically saying, yo, if religion shouldn't be forced to be taught in school, other subjects shouldn't also be forced. And as you can see, I replied eventually, and I said basically, and let me know if you guys disagree with this. I think it's a fair point. I said, look, when this existence was rationalized by man, us human beings, we as humans began to notice the design of this world that we live in. We saw caves, we saw architecture naturally formed by this world. And we were like, what if we did that with trees, right? Trees. Let's form shelter by planting trees and using it as cover. Oh, look at these animals. They're moving like a pact for protection, to hunt together. They're moving together. The things we saw in nature, designed by whoever you may credit to, you may say that's God, it inspired us to study geometry, order, symmetry, and language. And as this improved, this created societies and even inspired the development of artistic expression. You think we just randomly learned to build columns and roofs out of nowhere? Pottery just magically happened? We were inspired by nature, by the creation, right? That's why you should teach these other subjects, such as math in school, because learning this helps accelerate the growth of society. Symmetry, geometry, order. Our ancestors mirrored the intellectual infinity of creation. In Hermeticism and other esoteric studies, this is called squaring the circle. I'm sure some of you guys have seen this image before. In sacred geometry and some other forms of numerology, the circle represents infinity. The square symbolizes the material, earthly, and human experience. So here's something interesting. For whoever's watching or listening to this video, if I were to tell you, hey, you need to square your circle, it's me telling you, hey, you need to balance yourself mentally and spiritually. You're kind of too chaotic right now, or maybe you're too uptight. You know what I'm saying? Like, relax, bro. Square the circle. Keep this all in mind, because this square and circle is how everything started in this existence. In Gnosticism, the supreme deity, the absolute, the infinite one, is named Monad. This picture is how Monad is represented in Gnosticism and cosmic philosophy. It's just a circle. Pythagoras, the Greek philosopher, was the one who introduced this idea. But why, Aku? Pythagoras, what is he talking about? It's just a circle with a dot. How is this God? Remember what I just said about what the circle represents. Infinity. Pythagoras, from his mathematical and esoteric studies, knew that the circle has no corners, right? You see this, no corners, no edges. Quick edit. One thing I forgot to mention is that it's equidistant. Like every single part where the radius, right? Every single part is constant on each point of the circle. And you can even say by symmetry, uniformity, and just other mathematical constants that associated with the circle, it almost embodies perfect qualities. Monad, the absolute or God, is infinity, perfection. Now, there's something about that little dot in the middle of the circle. This represents the origin of all geometry. It's a single point. This is why you need to pay attention in school and learn about math. And some of y'all probably remember this if it's been a long time, right? From a single point, that single point, see that right there in the middle of the circle? It has no size, no dimension, no direction. Yet, if you expand the point outwardly, equally in all directions, the result is a circle. This makes the circle the first complete geometric shape. Once you have a circle, you can then inscribe other shapes such as triangles, squares, polygons. And you'll notice, if you don't believe me or think this is cap, do this on a piece of paper right now. If you try to draw anything else besides a circle from a single point, square, triangle, anything, and then you try to draw a circle after it based on the point, right? Or where you last left off, it will not be perfect in each point. This sacred geometry is all important information. And this is what I mean. People be making videos about Gnosticism, just be like, yeah, some infinity source out there called monad. And, nah, Gnosticism is based on esoteric and mysticism. And it's inspired by many mystery schools. You can't just be doing that on an ideology so deeply crafted and knowledgeable. Some of y'all probably learned something new about geometry here, right? It's fun and interesting now, right? In class, it's boring. Now, this is where conflict comes in. And this is where some of y'all might get offended, depending on your faith. Monad, God, though infinite and perfect, is considered eternal. The law of cause and effect does not apply to it. It is the first principle of existence. Its creation is uncaused. Basically, you ever heard people say God doesn't know where he came from? You shouldn't say that in major religions because it's considered blasphemy to question God and their existence, right? However, that statement of God not knowing where he came from, this is really where the origin of that is. Monad does not know where it came from. It's kind of depressing, no? Just existing alone, infinitely, beyond space and time. And here's what's so interesting in general philosophy, because I keep using this similar word over and over again, right? And you'll realize something about all of this. Philosophically and mathematically, infinity is considered something that is self-expressive. Infinity goes on and on. There is no purpose for it to do that. It just does it without need or desire. It's infinite, right? Now, monad is infinity, right? Remember the circle, everything. Therefore, monad without need or desire, it started to expand farther and farther like how infinity does. Monad, it just kept creating and generating more, let's say, numbers at the end because there is no end, right? Hence infinity. So God, monad, being the generator and creator of this existence, started to infinitely articulate ideas, and existence began to create itself within its infinity. Monad is not like God in every religion where you may get offended depending on your faith here, but God doesn't have a personality. God doesn't, you know what I'm saying? God just does what it does because infinity is its nature. Does this make sense? Now, the first creation or articulation of monad was called the ploma. This gets confused a lot. Ploma is not a physical place. I know in pictures, like probably one of the pictures I end up putting on the screen, it looks like a physical place. It's not a physical place. Ploma is a metaphysical concept. It's a state of existing. It's a state of fullness and divine existence, which also transcends space and time. Think about it like this. If I can simplify, if you're lost, ploma is a state of perfection, divinity, the ultimate spiritual awakening. It can be considered the highest form of consciousness. It can be considered that. The embodiment of pure awareness. This is the first creation of monad. Then monad started to populate this metaphysical place. And they started doing this with manifestations of themselves within it. These entities or beings represented the qualities of monad. They were called eons. I think the A is silent. Basically, monad just created a spectrum of their own existence and fullness within this place. This place rather. But split it up into multiple non-physical beings. Now, this is where Gnostics start fighting with each other or beefing with each other if they haven't done so already with what I'm sharing, because there are so many different schools of Gnosticism. I'm going to proceed with mostly Sethianism, okay? The first eon created, and this may throw some of y'all off because I know some of y'all don't want to hear this. Monad, his first eon, was called barbello. This was the divine feminine. You know when people say God is a woman? Blasphemy to a lot of people. Bad news. This is the first manifestation that monad had. Now, I wouldn't directly say God is a woman, even though this is considered the first divine entity or being, a woman. But hey, barbello is considered the womb of divine creation, the mother of all eons. Monad is the ultimate source, the infinite source. Barbello, as being the first divine entity, and it's a woman, again, not many people are going to be happy because their religion is based in favor towards men. And if the divine entity is a woman or is maximum feminine energy, I don't know what most people would do with their religion. Like, it kind of just throws away your whole book. You know what I'm saying? And it's why some people talk about Gnosticism. It's just not going to work. Some people just get very emotional and irrational about it. And like I mentioned, there are different schools of Gnosticism. Barbello isn't considered the first in some of them for some reason. I have a theory about that, but let's not get into that. So here's the second eon, right? Their name was Logos, but later named Christ. In the New Testament, the Gospel of John, they identify Jesus Christ as Logos. Logos is the eon of divine reason and order. Rather, later in Gnosticism, Christ or Logos represents organizing of the universe, the bridging between pleroma and the material world. This is what's so interesting about Christianity and Gnosticism. Jesus Christ in both is your salvation. Jesus Christ is the bridge to the divine source. That's what Logos or Christ was trying to do. And that goes into a later story about Logos even entering the material world as Jesus, right? I probably won't get into in this video. Monad created a handful of eons, right? But the final one I want to talk about is Sophia. Of course, this is another eon that represented divine wisdom. Now, this is where things get spooky. Sophia, even though she represented feminine wisdom, and in some cases, creativity and knowledge, she was considered to be the farthest away from the monad. She would hang around the boundary of the pleroma. Remember that the pleroma is a divine place, a place of order, a place of ultimate awareness and divine fullness. Think about what's outside of it, though. Chaos. Now, Sophia was also considered the female counterpart to Logos or Christ, but her role was different from Christ. Now, this is where things get interesting. Sophia, to many people, they will also account this as well. Sophia was the first entity to exercise free will. Every other eon in the pleroma, they were unified, following order, everything was harmony. Sophia, her curiosity for more knowledge and wisdom, it started to make her want more. Now, her free will, I think this is my opinion, because I think a lot of people are a bit too harsh about this. I think Sophia, her free will was not malicious or rebellious. Okay, it wasn't intended for that. This is not the story of Lucifer. She was just ignorant and inexperienced. She decided she wanted to be like Monad and create her own manifestations of herself with her supreme wisdom and knowledge. Rather, she basically wanted to emulate Monad. Maybe create her own pleroma. I don't know. Again, not maliciously. She just wanted to exercise her free will and try it herself and maybe grow her knowledge and learn how to have the infinite essence and creative power of Monad. But she can't do that in the pleroma because it's Monad's perfectly ordered metaphysical existence. So she decides to, quote, step out of the pleroma. When she does that, now she's in chaos. Chaos. A realm that has no divine order. It's incomplete because Monad hasn't generated or calculated or expanded to that part yet. Yet she decides to go there. And when she goes there, it's dark. Pure darkness. Inside of this chaos. And she's acting on her own free will right now. And she tries to do exactly what Monad does. Tries to create manifestations of herself. Rather, her own eons, per se, right? She wants her own eons. Now, something goes wrong. Remember how I said Sophia is the female counterpart of Christ or Logos? Sophia is feminine energy. Logos is masculine. Notice how every single part of this story in this video, this whole video so far, even when I was talking about sacred geometry, everything has to do with balance. Yin, yang, black, white, male, female. Yet, you have Sophia acting alone. Her male counterpart, Logos, or Christ, is not around. So, to her, who cares? Boom, she tries to do it. Suddenly, a shining cloud begins to be made within the chaos. And I can't use certain words here with YouTube. Let's just say it looked like something was born prematurely by force, right? Catch my drift? It looked deformed. It looked incomplete. It had a lion head, a serpent body. It looked monstrous and malformed. And once it was born, it inherited the divine essence of Sophia. But it didn't inherit her wisdom. So at this point, she just made some monster who has her divine powers, but lacks the knowledgeable and wisdom divinity part. And here we have it, the demiurge. Sophia, she realizes her mistake after witnessing this monstrosity and continues to shroud the demiurge in this shining cloud. Then Sophia just dips. She retreats back to the pleroma, just leaving the demiurge out here in the chaos because, hey, it's just my bad. I just made a mistake. I'm just going to throw this out now. Or really, she just runs away because she realizes. So once the demiurge becomes self-aware and now he's just chilling in the chaos and the shining cloud just dissipates eventually. Remember, chaos, this chaos realm per se, outside the pleroma, has no order. It has no divine presence. It's just darkness. Yet at this point, the demiurge is the only divine presence due to it inheriting Sophia's power out here in the chaos, which previously had nothing in it. So confused, the demiurge believes, wait. I'm hearing this realm right now. This sandbox. I'm the only thing, and I have these divine powers. I don't even know where I came from, but I'm the only God. I am God. This arrogance. They didn't even question where they really came from. And can you blame them? Yo, if you just randomly appeared in a shining cloud in some sandbox, right? Some chaotic sandbox where you came from, yet you have divine powers. you might think you're God too. So the first thing the demiurge starts to do, and I'm going to cut this off here. If y'all want a part 2, let me know down below. Leave a like as well, right? The demiurge, thinking he's God, rather in this chaotic world, he is God. So you know what God did? What happened? In 6 days, God created the earth and the heaven and rested on the 7th. And on the first day, God said, let there be light. You feel me? Take that information, however you want to take it, that last part. This episode is found on Spotify and YouTube. Times Square.
Nightmare 7 a.m. in the morning though. No surprise. Times Square's you and I under those lights. No disguise. Don't tell me everything you wanted was a lie. All those city lights, it's an endless night. Never expected you to bring me so much life. Close my eyes too long, then it's time to say goodbye. Let's dance all night until the stars don't show glow. Till the sunrise, then we go solo. Making up for all the times that we were low. Let's make some memories before we do go. Let's dance all night until the stars don't show glow. Till the sunrise, then we go solo. Making up for all the times that we were low. Let's make some memories before we do go. Caution. Wait a moment, keep my heart locked, the way it's filled with emotion. Gave the key to you, right in front of you is open. Hey, try your best to not leave it broken.